Hello racing fans and welcome to our first local race meeting for a new week. It's the 26th of November. We are at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth. We're on the winter course and a new week, and we're going to build up to the weekend because this promises to be one of the weekends of our racing calendar when it comes to pools, stakes and feature races. Of course, we're talking about the Betway Summer Cup. But race number one on Tuesday begins at 12:05. They got 10 races carded, so it wouldn't form part of the exotics. And as we always have him on the line, that's Mr. Graham Hawkins. But today we have him in studio. He's visiting the province. He's been a busy man, traveling around the country, doing some charity work. And nice to have Graham Hawkins in the studio. Graham, nice to have you in town.
Nice to be in town, but I forgot how hot it gets in Durban. Stepped off the aeroplane this morning. As everybody knows, we record on a Monday prior to race day, and wow, the humidity and the heat just hit me, but I love it. To be fair, I love it.
Okay, we're hotting up to Christmas and of course the New Year, because this is the place to be. Some may say it's Cape Town, which we are previewing, Hollywoodbets Kenilworth. It is the winter course. Race number one, Graham, is over 1,000 meters. As we bring up the field, always like to give the guys a guide with the betting, taking down a bit earlier. Number one at 7-2, horse number 3 at 17-10, number 4 at 28-10. and horse number 12 at 8-1. There are a few unknowns in the race. I don't know if any of them catch your eye on pedigree, Graham. But leg number one, I think the right horse is on top of the betting boards. Andre Nell and Platinum Racing with Cornet Offer. They're having a wonderful run, Graham. They went to a quiet patch in the Western Cape, but things have, they've gone for the better now with regards to horses and the results.
Well, generally a meeting doesn't go by that they don't have a winner, and number 3, Call Me Jane, good debut behind Priscilla Maisley. We're not quite sure that form is going to hold out, but certainly on the evidence of that run, does have the beating of number 4, Heritage Ridge. That being said, that race was at Durbanville. They're now down the lane over the minimum trip at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth, but I'm expecting Call Me Jane to progress further, and as you say, the combination in good form. So number 3, Call Me Jane, to once again have the upper hand over number 4, Heritage Ridge. I do think there might be further improvement to come from number 1, Lassa. Showed good speed last time out. It's taken a while for the penny to drop, but she could show further improvement. So 3 from 4 and 1. It does look like a 3-cornered contest. Number 12, Love Story, can improve to get into the trifectas and quartets. And you were mentioning first-timers. I don't think it's fancied, but just to mention that number 11, Meg's Legacy, is a half-sister to Oriental Charm, who, of course, won this year's Hollywoodbets Durban July.
Okay, are you in the camp of two form lines here, Priscilla Macy or Miraculous, that we saw the form line over the weekend? So that's the choice you have on the two form lines. And Candice Bass-Robinson and Aldo de Meyer, they're going to have some choice mounts throughout the day. We'll see how it goes, because by their high standards, it has been a bit quiet, but they've been a bit unlucky in a few races. Race number 2, Bartport, 1,200 meters. You need to get on about 12:40. Betting, Graham, number 2 at 8-1. Horse number 7 at 8-1. Then we got number 16 at 17-10 before the scratching of number 15, who was trading at 7-1. So there may be a slight adjustment there. And it's double figures, the balance.
What price is number 1?
Horse number 1 is 8-1, Graham.
8-1.
8-1, Graham. 8-1. And then, I had to mention that because Candice Bass-Robinson and Aldo de Meyer, they got horses that are running well, Graham, but sometimes it's luck in running that's against them. Some of the horses, like Red Palace, for example, over the weekend, didn't find a finish, right position. I don't know what's happening, but it has to give, and once it gives, I think you're going to see the floodgates open.
They are getting their winners, but as you say, it's been a bit of a frustrating time for them.
Yes.
And a couple of times on the wrong end of the photo finish. But as you say, it will turn. The stable's too big, too good not to turn, and Aldo's too good a rider not to get his winners. I think this is a competitive maiden. As you say, number 15, Unsung Hero, has just been scratched early on Monday morning. And talking about Candice Bass-Robinson and Aldo de Meyer, as you say, they're top of the boards with number 16, Master of the Desert, knocking very loudly at the door. And must go close here over this 1,200-meter journey. But there are one or two others that make some kind of appeal. I know Cliff Swallow is a professional maiden now. But on his best form, out of gate 1, the blinkers come off. That's a late declaration. No blinkers on number 1, Cliff Swallow. He might well give a good account of himself. I think Beautiful Winter That's got any amount of scope for improvement. It's only had the 2 starts, and last amount wasn't disgraced behind Elizabeth Gold. Victor Hugo, Crowned Hornbill, they can all improve. But the clear-cut first choice, this is the first leg of the bipod. It's not my bet for the meeting. It's I've gone with Jackpot 2, as we'll talk it through. There's no slide for the show on this occasion, but we'll talk my way through Jackpot 2, which is my suggested bet for this meeting. Number 16, Master of the Desert. You've got to make up your own mind whether he represents himself as a bipod banker in the opening leg. Possibly back him up. Include the scratching so that if he does arrive, you can double up. But clear first choice, number 16, Master of the Desert.
Graham likes number 16 as the top choice, and I'm glad that he mentions number 2, Beautiful Winter, because I've singled that out as the value, and I'll tell you that is trading at 10 to 1. I took down the betting because I couldn't believe once I did my selections here that number 2 is a 10 to 1 shot. So I think that's a nice find from Graham with number 2, Beautiful Winter. But we'll see what happens in leg 1 of the bipod. But 16 going to be Graham Hawkins' top choice, and hopefully it is a nice start to the meeting for this combination of Bass and Dolmeo, who have some fancied runners throughout the afternoon. Race number 3 starts off the PA 1200 meters, an open maiden for fillies and mares. Number 1, Graham, is at 3 to 1. Horse number 5 is at 9 to 2. We'll keep an eye on that Priscilla Macy form line between numbers 1 and 5 here. That comes up in race number 1. I think if one of those runners win, you could see one of these runners shorten. Number 6 at 11 to 2. Horse number 10 at 7 to 1. And here's it again, Graham. Top of the boards, Bass and Dolmea, 18 to 10, number 11.
Yeah, this is an open maiden for fillies and mares over 1,200 meters. So once again, you've got 3-year-olds carrying big weights and some older fillies who've been there and thereabouts carrying lesser weights. The perfect example of that is number 6, Little Lexi,
yes,
who could certainly get into the money. But my top choice again would be the Candice Bass Robinson Domeo team. Number 11, Winter Gamble. Second to Berry's Boogie. Coming along the right way. Surely good enough to win a race of this nature. Drockenstein Stud own both numbers 1, Frida Kahlo, and number 11, Winter Gamble. I'm expecting one of those two to win. Richard Faree and Justin Snaith team up with number 1, Frida Kahlo. Again, they're drawn on opposite sides of the track. Frida Kahlo comes out of gate 1. Winter Gamble comes out of gate 11. But beneath the clouds, plenty of scope for improvement. That's number 5, the 3-year-old daughter of Lancaster Bomber. Little Lexi, as I say, she's been around for a while. She's a 4-year-old, but she's got enough form to suggest she could get into the mix. This is not the strongest open maiden fillies and mares over 1,200 meters. And the fact that she's 4 years old and getting 6 kilograms from the 3-year-olds does bring her into the race with a chance. So I wouldn't ignore the prospects of number 6, Little Lexi. There's not a hell of a lot of form to go around with. Number 10, Timeline. I'm quite intrigued by the late declaration. Blinkers go on number 10, Timeline. So this is a filly by One World. She's trained by Vaughan Marshall, ridden by Gavin Arena. After the day that Vaughan Marshall, One World, and Gavin Arena had on Saturday, I think you ignore number 10, Timeline, at your peril. So the Blinkers has had Blinkers once before, went fourth behind Elizabeth Grace. So the Blinkers could do the trick here. Don't ignore number 10, Timeline, either. She gets a little bit of weight from her fellow 3-year-olds because her merit rating's down deep. She's had many chances, to be fair. She's not going to rise to the kind of heights that we saw the other One Worlds rise to over the weekend, but she surely has a maiden win in her somewhere along the way, and this is the kind of race where she could get it right. But 11, Winter Gamble, for me, at the expense of the fellow Drockenstein-owned number 1, Frida Kahlo. But again, wouldn't be surprised if one or two of the lesser fancied runners got into the fray here.
Are you happy with 1 and 11 in the place accumulator, Graham?
I think the place accumulator, yes. Bipot, I would be adding either 6, Little Lexi, or 10, Timeline, or perhaps even both.
Okay, 10, Timeline, the value. Blinkers on, as Graham mentioned. And Larina and Marshall on a roll. And what a weekend for Gavin Larina. 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. A man on a mission. Race number 4, pick 6, begins at 1350, 10 to 2. It is the big one. Maiden plate, 1,400 meters. Let's bring up the field and have a look at betting. Horse number 5, King Quest. There's it again, Graham. Bass and Dolmea, 18 to 10. Number 7, 28 to 10. 8 at 5 to 2. And 9 at 9 to 2. Well, with the runners that they've brought to the traces, hopefully it turns out to be a successful day for them. Number 5, King Quest. I have no doubt that if I had to price up, this would be the horse on top of betting boards.
Has to be. In fact, this might be the strongest of their early runners.
Yes.
I know it hasn't raced in September. It's only done all of its racing at Hollywoodbets Durbanville. Comes to Kenilworth. A reminder again, we're on the winter course for the midweek meetings, summer course for the weekend meetings for the moment anyway. The tongue tie comes off number 5, King's Quest. So as you mentioned, Candice Bass-Robinson and Elder DeMay have got some very nice runners, particularly in the early part of the card. I think this might be the strongest, going along the right way. And when you look at the opposition, that regulation form, I'm going to stick my neck out. I think serious question marks about the regulation form, which features.
Over the weekend,
I did as well. Riverhawk and Honor of Kings. Now, they're both lightly raced. So having said what I've just said, Dees, clearly Honor of Kings is a half-brother to Princess Colour. So still plenty of scope to come right, plenty of scope to mature. So maybe you don't want to read too literally into the regulation form line, but when you look at the fact that Riverhawk also showed such sudden improvement in that form line, it does bring questions. Hence, I think that number 5, King's Quest, could be tough to beat here. Watch for a much better run from number 6, Crescent. Forget about that last run. Everything went wrong. Elder DeMay was, Grand Friendly Kick was drawn on the inside, was immediately looking for the outside, checked the horse to the back of the field, switched to the outside when everything else went to the inside. In fact, the winners came from the inside. That was over 1,200 metres at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth. So I think you could draw a line through that run by Crescent. But that being said, he needs to show what he's about. So for me, number 5, King's Quest, if you wanted to go all in with number 5, King's Quest, I wouldn't actually put you off that. Clearly, he hasn't run for 2 months, and that might be a little concern. Your other little concern might be the fact that the stable and jockey have been on the wrong end of the photo finishes. But as you said, it's got to turn somewhere. And they've got some nice runners in the early part of this card in particular, and I think King's Quest might be the strongest of them all.
Okay, I like the confidence coming through from Graham. I'm just going to add from Hollywoodbets Durbanville to the winter course at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth could be the answer, having watched this fella race. You take a chance and maybe go banker because it's tight. Once you look past the 18-10 shot, 28-10, 5-2, 9-2, it is tight at the top of betting board. So you're going to have to make a decision there. Are you going to minimize your spend, multiply it by 1? Or maybe include a few runners in leg 1 of the pick 6. Jackpot 1 begins at 14.25 over 1,600 meters. We bring up the field now. Number 1 at 8-1. 2 is at 7-1. 3 at 3-1. Number 4 at 7-2. We got horse number 7 at 7-1. 8 at 8-1. And we were just talking about regulation and the form line in the previous race. Justin Snate's runner with Grand Finnick up. First run out the maidens, 54.5, is at 8-1. Graham, are we going with horses that have just recently won their maiden, meaning first run out the maidens? I've jotted them down. Numbers 1, 2, 3, and 11 are those runners. Or are we going with horses that we get a bit of more form to work out the maidens with?
I think there's some nice 3-year-olds in this lineup, Dees, this Class 4 handicap over 1,600 metres. But again, as you say, they're stepping out of the maiden ranks and coming into Class 4 handicap company for the first time, with the exception of number 7, Dalmeny Factor, and number 8, La Pulga. They've both been exposed in handicap company, and of those, number 7, Dalmeny Factor, actually ran pretty well behind Radicchio. I think that was quite a strong race. There's been a direct winner out that form line. So let me start off by saying, if one of the hard-knocking older horses was to come through and cause a bit of a surprise here, I wouldn't be all that shocked. You've got horses like Chavut and All About Ronnie and Gentleman Joe, and in particular, Azuri is one that could suddenly improve to get into the mix here. But I do think that there's a bit of class amongst these 3-year-olds. I think they're quite nice. Touchdown is another older horse with a good draw, and again representing the Vaughan Marshall and Gavin Lorena combination that could get into the mix. But I'm looking at the 3-year-olds to progress even further. Major Master, another runner from the Candice Bass-Robinson stable, this one being ridden by J.P. van der Merwe. That's just recently won a maiden. Interesting that Elder DeMay goes with La Pulga, but I guess that's all about the weight. Eldo can't get down to 55.5, so J.P. van der Merwe has been booked to ride number 3 Major Master because of the weight. Elder DeMay aboard number 8 La Pulga. Of the two, I prefer number 3 Major Master. He beat Rich Folks Hoax. Rich Folks Hoax has come out to win its maiden, so that form has been But if you go to the penultimate run, was second behind Pinot Grigio. That was at Hollywoodbets Durbanville, and Pinot Grigio reopposes here from gate 1. So if you like Major Master, you've got to give number 1 Pinot Grigio a good chance, and he's come along the right way, and he might have a lot more scope for further improvement. Mente Amanu, Richard Faree rides for Snaith. Congressman won that, beat that by a short head last time out. We saw Congressman come out to win, so that form line has now been franked. Mente Manu does step back in trip, which may be a little bit of a concern. He won his maiden over 1,800 metres. I think Del Many Factor is going to go well here. I think this is quite an open race. We spoke about regulation. It was a weak maiden, but he is a half-brother to Bulgarian. He's a half-brother to a July winner. So inasmuch, although he won a weak maiden, you've got to believe there's a lot of upside. So I wouldn't entirely... Notwithstanding what I said a moment ago, he in particular, he won that race, and he won it, obviously at a big price. He wasn't expected necessarily to win. He came in a little bit under the radar. That was over 1,400 metres. Being a half-brother to Bulgarian, the further he goes, the better he'll be. So I wouldn't completely draw a line through number 11 regulation, although, as I said, he's got weight on his side. He's only got 54.5 to shoulder. So I think it's a very competitive race. And that's why I said in the previous leg, I think take a chance, banker number 5, King's Quest, if you're playing the pick 6. Go as wide as possible here, because I think this is a very, very competitive and interesting Class 4 handicap.
Okay, you heard it from Graham. Numbers 1, 3, 4, and 11. Get his vote. They are recent maiden winners, but there could be further improvement to come. All of them having their first run out the maidens. But I'm glad that he gave a mention to number 7, Del Many Factor. That is trading at 7 to 1 and gets my vote in a big way for the pick 6. So Graham has given you some horses to play around with in leg 2 of that pick 6, and it is Jackpot 1, race number 5. Race number 6 is over 1,800 meters. It is a Cape C Stakes for fillies and mares. And we bring up the field, have a look at the betting. Number 1 Among the Clouds, Snaith and Fanikak, 2 to 1. Horse number 3 at 3 to 1. Number 4 at 4 to 1. Number 5 is at 7 to 2. And then it's double figures, the balance. It's a small field, Graham, and there's no standout here unless you really like number 1 Among the Clouds, who's possibly the horse that will grab your attention on her current form, but she's been costly as well.
We've liked her every time she's run. She's 503 days without a win, placed in her last 4 starts, so she is knocking at the door. She's drawn in pole position. I have got some horses that I fancy later on, as you will see as we move through the card. So for me, short and sweet, I think this is a field race. If pressed into a corner, I would go with number 3, Lady Springfield, as my top choice. She ran behind Heliotrope last time. I think she's improving. Heliotrope reopposes, so at the weight's not much to choose between them. Clearly Among the Clouds, just by virtue of her consistency. She lacks the will to win. That's what worries me. She moves through to win a race every time, and when the chips are down, she just fails to find that. But extra, I've no doubt that number 1 Among the Clouds will run another big race. Number 4, My Only Weakness, is improving. She's well bred and has a lot of scope. Heliotrope, what you see is what you get. You can expect another genuine race. If you don't want to go the whole field and working on your principle, at the very least, I think you need to include numbers 1 Among the Clouds, 3 Lady Springfield, 4 My Only Weakness, and 5 Heliotrope in the pick 6. But we've seen Princess of Bayeux surprise before, and it's not completely out of the question that if she gets a soft lead and if the race is run to suit her, that she could surprise again. So I'm going wide in races 5 and 6. I'm certainly including the whole field. That's as far as I'm concerned, because I've got 2 other horses that I fancy strongly later on that I'm going to rely on and hope they get the job done. And hopefully King's Quest has won the opening leg for us. So it's a mixture of horses that you strongly fancy and some other races where perhaps nothing jumps out the page.
Okay, race number 6, Graham suggesting the field, and just hope that you get a result that drops tickets here in race number 6, or else in numerical order 1, 3, 4, and 5. 4 runners may just be good enough to survive that leg. Jackpot 2, race number 7, it was over 1,200 meters, and this race, let's bring up the field. And it is the start of Jackpot 2. You need to get on by 15:35, 25 to 4. Number 1 at 8 to 1. 2 is at 4 to 1. 3 at 7 to 1. 4 at 8 to 1. 5, 22 to 10. Number 6 at 7 to 1. And then we got a 5 to 2 shot here that ran good last time out at a big price for Brett Crawford. Richard Fourie up, and nice that I bumped into Louis Mkotwa over the weekend. He seems to be in very good spirits, and he's doing well. He just needs some time, some care, and basically time off to nurse himself back to full fitness. Richard Fourie rides number 8 Japanese Road 5-2. Graham, another race. You're either going to take a stance here and possibly go 2 runners. The 2 obvious runners, maybe She's My Captain and number 8 Japanese Rose, because once you start looking past those horses, then this looks tough.
This is even more of a field race than the previous race, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, look, She's My Captain. You'll get a good run out of her. She's honest as the day is long. She is 6 years old now. Richard Fourie rode her last time, went second to Great Cat. Great Cat is again in the field. Forget about Great Cat's last run. It was in a higher division. She drops back to a more suitable kind of opposition here. I'm surprised Japanese Rose is as short as she is in the market. It is the Richard Fourie factor. I'm not denying her a winning chance. Her form down the lane at Hollywoodbets Kenilworth is not sparkling. She's had 3 goes there, missed the frame on all occasions. I think she enjoyed the turn at Hollywoodbets Durbanville last time. She doesn't get that here. It was a small field there. She ran second, well beaten by B. Merry. The rest of them didn't add up too much. So I think maybe that last run of Japanese Rose flatters her. She comes in here with an undeniable chance. Richard Fourie wouldn't be riding her. But if Kailami Girl was to suddenly bounce back, or Sidley was to suddenly bounce back, Dark Winter was a filly we thought very highly of. JP van der Merwe rides for Justin Snaith. I mean, Dark Winter is quite a classy sort. She showed tremendous ability. She has been below par in the last 2, but one of them, of course, was a feature race well back in July. She's only had the 1 start back in the season and was handsomely beaten by Great Cat, but will improve from that. So I think this is more of a field race than race 6. And Jackpot 2, which I've suggested is the bet of choice, I've got the field because I've got Banker in races 8 and 9, which may raise a few eyebrows because they're not clear-cut favourites, but I like them strongly. More about that in a moment. So I'm not going to be of much help here. I think it's very hard to draw a line through any of these. Even Unconquerable Lady, who's at a huge price, could suddenly come back to best form in Kaya Stables' colours. So She's My Captain, for me, sets the standard. She's genuine, she's honest, she's game. She's won 6 races. She knows what it is to win. So she, for me, sets the standard and would be the top choice, number 5, She's My Captain. If she doesn't get it right, then any of the other, 7 runners can win, in my view.
And I think Graham's spot on with the value, number 4, Dark Winter. That's trading at around 8-1. If you watch racing over the weekend, go and see who she beat 3 starts back. I know it's Hollywoodbets Scottsville, and Ayui did have the claim 4, but won a very, very good race at Hollywoodbets Scottsville. So she was a decent horse as a 2-year-old, number 4, Dark Winter, and that could be generous odds of 8-1 in race number 7. Now, Graham has been telling us from the start of this preview that, I like a few horses later on. The time when you'll need it most. It's the latter part of the meeting. Race number 8 over 1,200 meters. Maybe it could be this race, Graham. Number 2 at 5-1. Horse number 6 at 4-1. I've taken down a betting on a horse here that I think is worthy for trifectas and quartets, called Grand Bay at 16-1. Number 9 at 7-1. 10 at 9-2. 12 at 11-2. And 13 at 8-1. Graham, is this the race where you're going to help us?
I hope so, Dee. So, sometimes we've got to take a stance. We can't sit here and go through every race and try and mention all the horses and try and sit on the fence. I'm really very strongly in the camp races 8 and 9 of the Justin Snaith stable. The number 6, Let It Be Said, for me, is the right horse in the race. I think he's going the right way. I was impressed with his last run. He got a bit of interference at the start. He didn't get the cleanest break. I think he's got a bright future. He's not without opposition here. He's not 4-1 for a reason. He's 4-1 because that's probably about the right price for him. But I'm going to stick my neck out. I'm happy to get it chopped off. I'm strongly in the camp of number 6, Let It Be Said. Recent winners, number 2, Lesibedi Gold, and number 10, Golden Destiny. In particular, number 10, Golden Destiny was very, very impressive, but I'm not quite sure what the level of opposition was there. But clearly, Golden Destiny suddenly got his act together. Dean Canema has always held him in high regard. So the principal threat to number 6, Let It Be Said, for my money, would be number 10, Golden Destiny. But again, there are a few hard-knocking older horses. You've mentioned number 7, Grand Bay. There's number 9, Prince of Tibet. 12, Paratrooper, finished marginally in front of Let It Be Said last time out. I'm confidently expecting Let It Be Said to turn that around. Suti, always a threat, hard-knocking older sort. Otanikwa comes out of that same form line that you're following with Grand Bay. So behind Kai Boy, and Kai Boy's no slouch, that's for sure. Otanikwa was 3 lengths back, but ahead of that was Grand Bay. So you've picked up on that form line and suggesting Grand Bay can get into the trifectas and quartets, and that certainly could be the case. But to cut to the chase, let it be said that I fancy Snaith to win the 8th.
Okay, Graham on number 6 in a big way here, and that's trading at 4-1. But just consider number 7, Grand Bay. Just going to read out the form line of that last start behind Cowboy. Mon Petit Cherie coming out to win the feature. Arctic Wizard coming out to win, and you'll see Arctic Wizard on a collateral form beating some of these runners here. And Cowboy himself ran a good second behind the talented, the smart Lion Rampart over the weekend. So this horse at 16-1 could be the exact horse with Graham's selection, number 6, Let It Be Said. So that is race number 8. Now race number 9 is over 1,200 meters, where number 1 is a scratching. Number 2 at 7-2. Number 4 at 11-2. 6 at 7-2. 7 at 9-2. 8 28-10. And 9 is an 8-1 shot. So Graham, what are we doing here? Are we siding with the more fancied runners? Are you looking for a result? Have you found something?
Well, I said I fancy Snaith in races 8 and 9, and I'm even more strongly in the camp of number 8, Gimme Lightning, than I am with Let It Be Said. I think Let It Be Said is a slightly tougher task. I think Gimme Lightning will go very, very well for us here. I think that run behind Dance Variety was superb. He drops in class here. 1,200 meters, he's up in trip. JP van der Merwe dons, of course, the Greg Board Silks, as he always does, as the retained rider. Lightning to strike at Kenilworth. That's the way I see it. Oliver, in the form of his life, he's gone up hugely in the ratings. He carries 61. My concern is the obvious one, Dees. He's won his last 3 over 1,400 meters, steps back to 1,200. I'm not sure to what extent that might compromise his chances. I think the bigger danger to Gimme Lightning could be number 7, Nordic Chief. There's a late declaration. He gets blinkers. Blinkers go on number 7, Nordic Chief. He's held on the last run behind Dance Variety. But we mentioned earlier that the Andre Nel Cornet Orpha team are in good form. There's no doubt that Nordic Chief has got a touch of class about him, and he may represent the biggest threat to number 8, Gimme Lightning. So Gimme Lightning over Nordic Chief and Oliver. For me, I'm expecting a form result. Dumbledore was a good winner last time out. He's not always consistent. Of course, the scratching here is Axel. That is out. Axel is a scratching. Escarpment is holding form nicely. War Chariot did me an absolute no-turn at all when getting up to beat Suti in his penultimate start when we were all over Suti at a big price. So Black Egret, interesting. We saw Clinton Binder have his first winner in the Western Cape with Ziyasha. Well done to him. We know that Black Egret is very talented, and yes, he might be able to emulate what Ziyasha did over the weekend. But again, you know, you've got to nail your colours to the mast on occasions. As tipsters, we do that. We're heroes when we get away with it. We're ridiculed when we don't get away with it. I'm nailing my colours to the mast with number 8, Gimme Lightning. I fancy this one even more strongly than I do Let It Be Said, but I'm taking my chances with King's Quest a banker, Let It Be Said a banker, Gimme Lightning a banker, and going wide in all the other legs.
Oh, you heard it from Graham. That's what we love. Confidence, 28-10 here. Horse number 8 in race number 9. And then we close things off in the 10th race over 1,000 meters. Graham is giving us some confidence with 2 runners now in Jackpot 2. Let's see how we can close things off here. Or is it wide? We bring up the field, and number 5 is at 8-1. Horse number 8 at 5-1. And we started off this preview talking about this combination of Bass and Domea. Are they going to have a great day on Tuesday? Well, let's see if they can end it off on a high as well with 9. That's at 18-10. 11 at 9-2. And 12 is a 7-1 shot. Graham, that was a short head. Second out the maidens behind She's My Captain, who is a fancied runner earlier on today. So personally, I thought that was a tremendous run out the maidens.
Very, very, very good run by Rockapina. To actually give weight away to She's My Captain. We mentioned that She's My Captain's a 6-time winner.
Yes.
Rockapina's done absolutely nothing wrong. My concern would be 62.5 off the back of 3 months off the track. She's been 3 months off the track. There's no doubt in my mind that she is the best filly in the race. Whether she's the best prepared filly going into this race on Tuesday, that's another question, and in terms of the conditions of the race, when you look at Snaith's 2 runners, Daphne's Daughter and Champagne Kisses, they've got nice form. Daphne's Daughter getting 7.5 kilos. Champagne Kisses getting 5.5 kilos. So Rockapina, in my view, D's, is going to have to strip pretty close to her very best. To win this race, she comes in off the back of a merit rating of 95. When she ran second out the maidens of a 93, she was penalised 2 points for running second to She's My Captain.
Yes.
For her to win this race, she's going to have to run better than a 95. So have the handicappers got it right? Have they got it wrong? It is the minimum trip. You could argue that weight doesn't count for that much over the minimum trip. But I think there's obviously been a reason that we haven't seen her. Maybe it was just the fact that they didn't want to run her at Hollywoodbets Durbanville, although that's where she ran second to She's My Captain. But the fact of the matter remains, we haven't seen her for 3 months. And she'll need to strip at her very best to get the job done here, because there are a few that are showing promise. Daphne's Daughter we've mentioned, Champagne Kisses we've mentioned, they both get a lot of weight. Sweetie Darling will improve. Pink Pigeon might yet do better than she did last time out. Stable companion to the top weight is Tanneron. She's no slouch on her best form. So yeah, you have a bit of a conundrum. So the way I structured Jackpot 2 was to go field by the 2 horses that are banked by the field here, because potentially, if things go pear-shaped in this race for whatever reason, you could get a big result. You could suddenly get a La Divina bouncing back to her best form. We're not quite sure what to make of the Priscilla Maisley maiden win. So I've gone field in the Jackpot 2, field by banker by field. I might be way off the mark in this last run, because it might rest between Daphne's Daughter, Rockapina and Champagne Kisses. I'm bringing the 2 Snaith horses into the race only because Rockapina's been off the track, and only because she's got 62.5 and the rest have got a lot of weight, are receiving a lot of weight. So I think the result is up in the air. I think the race is up for grabs.
Okay, it's either Rockapina or a result. So maybe with those 2 bankers of Graham, it could become 3 in 1 perm, just to minimize the spend. You never know. Rockapina wins and then you're getting a small dividend, but you got the cover. If she gets beat, I think any of the other runners that are carrying tickets here will be much higher than the dividend that is going to be reflected by Rockapina. And let's keep an eye on the Princess Maisie form line. I think races 1 and 3, that form line comes up. If those horses run well or win, then we could gain some confidence with that form line going into race number 10. So Rockapina or field. So Graham mentioned that he's chosen bet. We don't have a slide. Apologies for that. We usually pull up a slide, but we don't have one. But if he had to choose a bet, a suggested bet for this race meeting, it's going to be Jackpot 2. Now, Jackpot 2, guys, begins in race number 7, and that's at 15:35. At the time of recording, Graham will go the field there, which will be 8 runners. Then in race number 8, Graham is a very strong here with number 6. Let It Be Said. So that's going to be a banker. So it's 8 by 6, 8 horses by 6, a banker. And then in race number 9, well, he's even stronger than the previous race with number 8. That is going to be a banker there as well. So you got field by 6 by field. And then what are we doing at the background?
No, field by 6, field by banker, 6 by banker, 8 by field.
Okay, at the back we're going field.
Yep.
Okay, we're going field. So it's going to be 8 times 11, because number 3 is scratching at the time of recording. $88. That is going to be it. Field by 6 by 8 by field, if he had to choose a suggested bet. And take that cover. Field by 6 by 8 by banker Rockapina. That will only cost you 8 rand. Can you believe that? You'll get much more than your 8 rand. Graham, thanks for your time. Nice having you in town.
Thanks, Dees. Nice to be with you in the studio, and let's hope that the The horses run as we expect them to run.
Well, hopefully it turns out to be that wonderful end to the race meeting, because that's where we could say Graham's two best bets come up towards the latter part of the meeting, namely races 8 and 9. To you, the valued racing fan, on behalf of Gallop TV, Graham Hawkins and myself, Dees Dynan, find all the winners, have a blast, and hopefully it turns out to be a wonderful day for you. The first local race meeting of a new week. It's the 27th of, 26. How can I forget that? 26, I'm not supposed to forget that. It's my wife's birthday. Yes, it is. 26th of November. And until we meet again, you take care.